This is the part of the show, Greg, where I'm going to just give you the floor. And I might have missed some key components of this book. And I just want to make sure that you have the opportunity to point us where you want us to go. And from the standpoint of it's up to me to, because people can't get their hands on the book. That's a lot of responsibility for me to relay
Yeah.
important
Oh yeah.
information.
Oh yeah.
And it's basically secrets from the inside, name of your book, but also it's really our topic at this point, because there are secrets from this book that we need to pass on to those that are taking the time to listen and engage with our content today. What do they need to know? Or what maybe have I missed?
Wow, you have not only not missed stuff. I mean, you've brought up stuff that's jogged my memory, Val, for from over 30 years. So you've done big time, done your job and more. I love that kind of question because I'll jump to probably one section. It just kind of jumped out at me for fun, and I love the way you framed the question. But one thing, I'll tell you what, and I mean this too. I've been described as a visionary in the past, someone, and I mean it, someone who is 20 years ahead of my time. I don't give myself credit for that at all, but there's an element of that book that I believe was at least 20 years ahead of its time. I mean, not even close, not even a close call. And I wanted to timestamp it. You know that word, that expression, Val. I wanted to timestamp it, and again, going off memory, it was 1991. U.S. Publishing timestamp. And what I did is I wanted to see where the auto industry, the crazy car business, was going to be in 20 years or 30 years. As it turns out, there were names like Elon Musk and electric cars and online buying I never heard of. And so I asked myself a question: where's this car business going to go? And I had an answer. At least at the time, I had the answer, and it turns out to be the correct answer. And that was, I'll give you a little heads up. You scoot to the Saturn. It's a Saturn, a no enemies company. That's what I'm going off of memory. Saturn, a no enemies company. You go to that. I analyzed it. It jumped out at me at the time. I was looking at a brand new car company. No one even knew its name. It had just started in, I think, 1990 and maybe 91, right back there. And it was a brand new company. No one heard of it. It's called Saturn. And two things. They didn't realize Saturn was just a brand. It was a subsidiary of General Motors. But Saturn had the theory at the time that they could change the auto industry. And they could make it nicer. And they could make it more fair. And they wouldn't create enemies of car buyers and vice versa. So they had some of the older folks will know the name real well, Saturn. And as it turns out, I wrote the sidebar before I don't even think they were a year old, Val. And they did a couple of things in the first year being in business that I'd never seen before. They offered a money back guarantee for the car. If you didn't like it, bring it back in 30 days. We thought that was crazy. They just a total truly satisfying the customer and curing this runaround nonsense that even people feel today in today's car dealerships. And I said, okay, the world's going to go like Saturn's going to go, and there's one reason for it. It's called this. You might remember this from the book. It's called the CSI. CSI is going to change the industry.
Yes.
CSI was the 1980s. It's the term Customer Satisfaction Index. It was started, or at least pioneered, really by Ford. I'm going to say others, but Ford was really in the mid and late 80s on top of it, and they started a campaign called "Quality is Job One." Quality is job one, and it was an industry thing. Surveys where if you Ford or Toyota or anyone, you sell a car, a new car, brand new car. Then the manufacturer, usually in Detroit, Ford manufacturer or GM, they contact the customer usually within a month and ask them how the experience was. And they actually started grading dealers on how satisfied they were with their purchase. So of course, can you imagine the 1980s There were some dealers that were just a grease fire with unsatisfied customers. But finally, because of CSI and because of, as I say, Saturn, I think even Saturn, the industry changed really quickly. And they began adjusting to the satisfaction of looking for satisfaction of the customer. So the sidebar I wrote in Saturn about Saturn was, whether you guys know this company or not, this is where the industry is going. Blah blah blah. If you even had that sidebar in front of you, I'll bet you, Val, I'll bet you $1,000,000 that just the first paragraph, and maybe even the last paragraph. The last paragraph is the one I was really proud of, because I said, if Saturn ever goes out of business, by the way, which happened, it happened. It's because they were too nice to their customers. And I bet you that was the last line of, or close to it, of that Saturn sidebar. Do you, like, for goofy chance, have that sidebar in front of you, that chapter?
I
Oh
do.
my God.
I do. How much
Oh
do you
my
want
God.
me to read?
Okay, because I don't have the book in front. Just for goofy, just goofy, read the first paragraph. I love it because I've always said you sound like a second or fourth grade school teacher on radio. You do it so well when you read. So go ahead, read me the first paragraph, Val, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll ask you for the last paragraph.
Okay, just give me 1 second here.
Did you expect this today, Val? Did you expect to have a reading in front of
I did not, because it starts out. So, in this chapter, it talks about what some industry authorities are saying about CSI. And I will go then to the last paragraph. It says, some experts view the 21st century dealership as having salaried consultants demonstrating vehicles rather than traditional commissioned salespeople. Saturn is already trying a variation of this theme. The no enemies buying method gives consumers the means to contribute to the changes occurring in the industry. It replaces the existing factors of the dealership sales system: manipulation, uncertainty, and competition, with mutual respect, knowledge, and understanding.
Wow. Boy, that sounds like a good writer right there. Sounded like I knew what I was talking about. What happened there? How cool is that? Because what you just read, I'm serious too. I'm going only off of memory. The concept of salary sales consultants and just having a much more kind of professional transaction, you're seeing that already. Dealers are marketing that already. We have salary consultants. But that was 30 years ago. That you just read what you read. That was 30 years ago. That was unheard of. So there you go. The Saturn sidebar. Go ahead.
And sorry, I read the wrong part. The biggest question in the Saturn experiment, especially in light of the corporations currently in the red status, is whether Saturn can be profitable or not. Sure, it is nice to be nice, but a company can't be nice if it is out of business. Regardless of how things turn out for Saturn, it is an experiment conceived out of respect for the customer. If anyone believes that CSI is not important to car manufacturers, they should consider Saturn. So you were right.
Wow.
With what you
Wow.
said.
And they went out of business because they were too nice to the customers. Honestly, it's that way I say that is, you can be not, and it's any entrepreneur will understand this. Anyone who's been in their own business, you have to make enough margin to pay the bills. It's like really simple. Otherwise, you're running in the red. And as it turns out, and I think you're going to see this with a lot of these current internet companies, Val, some name brands that I haven't even talked about yet. They're going to be out of business because they're not able to make enough margin to pay the bills with how they go about their business. And there's a couple of big names out there that people know, but maybe that's for the next Secrets book about the auto industry. You know what I mean?